do there, chums. So I'm reviewing Rebel Moon Part 1 on Netflix. Yeah, it's freaking mentals. This does sort of scream out to me Star Wars and lots of other sci-fi type films from that sort of era and time that's been re-rendered into modern day. And you know what? It freaking worked.
Within a 24-hour span, I managed to watch one of my favorite movies of 2023 and this, one of the worst films I saw all year, Rebel Moon. I'm sorry, Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. Let's burn this to the ground with the review.
Yes, there are little bits of here, there, and everywhere. I mean, every single planet felt different, and every time they jumped to a new planet, which was heavily signposted with lovely text on the screen, so you knew they were in different planets. So a lot of the other sort of reviews and takes that I've seen on this film's very bitty, but it needs to have its own identity per planet, and I think they actually done that very well.
But if you've ever seen a Star Wars movie, you already know the entire plot, so there's really not much else to spoil. That said, let's just give the surface level thoughts on Zack Snyder. A Child of Fire, Part 1. I don't know when Part 2 comes out. I think in a few months, actually. So there you go. There's something for you to, I guess, wait for, set your watch to. Or you might want to wait another year because Snyder said there's a better version of this movie that's rated R, that's even longer, that has a bunch of cool stuff that wasn't in it. It's like a totally different movie, he said. Why would a director say that? Unless he already knows that his movie sucks, that's on Netflix.
And I think they actually signposted these characters that you start to actually fall in love with during this actual sort of show. And I did. Every single character inside of this, I really liked. And not to say, it made me think this is why I pay my Netflix subscription.
What an amazing experience it's going to be. You know what wasn't an amazing experience? Trying to sit through this schlock with my wife. It was miserable. She passed out, of course, halfway through, at which point I just suffered to try to finish the movie so I could do a review. About an hour and a half in, I thought, you know what? I hate this. Why do I need to finish it? If you know a meal's bad, you know, you don't have to like eat the whole thing. But I sat through it. I slogged it out, and yeah, what a terrible time.
This is now something that I'm seriously looking forward to. I can't wait for episode 2 in April of next year, and this is why we pay our Netflix subscriptions. Stuff like this. It felt like it belonged in the cinema, and it hasn't long aired over in cinema, and then it's straight onto Netflix. Bloody brilliant stuff.
Let's get into it. So Cora is the main character, played by Sofia Boutella. She's a sad sack, stick in the mud, cruddy character that really has nothing exciting going for her. I don't like this character. You know, Sophia looks fine. She's pleasant on camera, but outside of that, what do we have? Nothing really. We will follow her as she, you know what? Let me back up, because I had this complaint about a different movie and people said to me, well, you know what, Adam, during war and other terrible times, people aren't happy. They're not pleasant. They're miserable. They're sad. They cry. Yeah, of course. That's not the criticism I have. You can absolutely have a person that's broken and sad, but is still interesting to watch and rally behind. That is not what's happening here. This person is sad and broken, but not interesting or captivating or giving me anything to really go on outside of, okay, she's just now standing in front of another green screen, awkwardly having dialogue with someone. This is miserable.
Now, some of the characters in this, I really liked the Japanese sort of lady and her eye makeup. Freaking great when you get to see her. But she's got these two dueling blades and they light up on fire almost like sort of like lightsabers. She takes on this giant arachnid sort of lady that's got like lots of eyes. It's a freaking excellent, well choreographed fight scene and I loved it. Now I know that the person that actually put this together or produced it or whatever done 300. 300 is one of my favourite sort of films when it comes to choreography and getting into the characters and liking the characters. It's very rare these days that a show actually hits me and says, I like these characters. Some shows I just couldn't care less about the characters in it. You know, Game of Thrones did that quite well. This delivers these characters in a believable sense. I mean, take for instance Ripley from Alien. You actually believe that Ripley in Alien could tear you a new one if she wanted to. I wouldn't mess with frickin' Ripley. This lady here, she actually puts in quite a lot of body mechanics into her combat scenes, and the way she spun that was very believable, like she's done it a million times. Now, her backstory is, when she was 9, this galactic empire invaded her homeworld and took her sort of prisoner in a roundabout way, but one of the mass generals at the top that butchered her family actually took a shine to her because she saw that she had the killer instinct and made her like his adopted daughter, and that's why she's freaking kick-ass. She's badass because she's been training since she was 9 until the age that she is in this.
The movie is large scale, yet somehow at the same time incredibly small. It feels so quaint because Snyder, unlike almost every other director I know, has not grown past 300. He's still on a soundstage doing the same shtick over and over. 300 is badass. I love that movie. I will always love and defend that movie. It was ahead of the game. But Snyder since then has he's gone backwards. He's devolved. It's insane. And I think a lot of it is because he's now writing these movies or has a big hand in that department, and he should stay away from that. Of course, this is all subjective. This is my opinion. He's got his audience that loves his films. They don't need to listen to me. If you're a huge Snyder fan, you don't need to listen to me. Why are you watching me? I've fallen out of favor with him. Ever since 300 and Dawn of the Dead, he's really let me down over and over. But
some of the characters in it feel like they've just been shoehorned in, though. There is one, and he's like this barbarian Conan-y type lookalike that rides a giant griffin, but the griffin's freaking great how they've realised it into the world. Think Jason and the Argonauts with CGI and you're somewhere close to it. And I love the fact that you've got that from planet to planet. Some planets have got these mythological creatures on. It's like sci-fi and fantasy had a baby. Freaking loved it. And I really wish they would do a video game of this. If they make a Rebel Moon video game, freaking take my money.
Keep coming back, hoping. Man of Steel I liked. That was fine. But man, what is going on? This doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a weird school project where he took a bunch of scenes and different things that he thought were cool in other films and tried his hand at them and then just loosely tied them together.
Yes, I'd love to be in this universe where you don't know what's on planet to planet, especially when there's griffins sort of like willy-nilly just in the wilds. Heck yes. Director of 300, Man of Steel. I love 300. I love Man of Steel. I haven't seen Army of the Dead. I might have to now. Yeah, because freaking beautiful. I mean, look at that. Look at the city in that. Freaking lovely. So they go to mining towns, they go to sort of like backwater areas, and basically they're recruiting the best of the best that hate the Empire. So they've got like an ex-gladiator, they've got this, like I said, the one with the dueling sort of swords that lights up on fire. They've got a leader of like a rebellion there. You got this guy who's quite funny, he's quite Irish. I'm not going to tell you much about him because there's all sorts of weird twists and things that happen on in this. You've got to watch it.
Let's get a little bit into the plot. So Kora, main character, of course, she has been saved by an older gentleman and brought to a planet for a couple years. It's basically Tatooine. She was saved from the evil Empire, who's going around looking for rebels and taking them out and showing dominance throughout space. They're not called the Empire, but that's what they are because this is Star Wars done stupid. She actually shares room and board with this old man too, and there's a funny scene early on where she's gonna get dressed, and so she shuts the curtain, which is just this see-through separator, and all I'm thinking is, well, you can see everything. It's basically like closing a glass window. Nothing has changed at all. It was just comical. I thought that was funny. Thinking, what are we doing here? He can see everything going on.